All right, welcome to the Finance and Admin Committee for December 5th, 2023. Present today, Councilman Clay and Councilman Clunt, City Attorney Paul Jensen, and myself. Finance Officer Chandra Phillips is unavailable today. I believe it's a pretty open slate just for open discussion and topics to bring to finance. So, council, questions? A lot of questions prior. Might be the shortest committee meeting ever.
I know we don't have our department heads here and stuff, but I mean, our discussion last night was big ticket item is that truck, and I think we need to get to the bottom of what's gonna happen. I think council needs an answer on if there's potential of fixing that 100%, which was 100,000 or not. I mean, that makes a big difference on whether we buy a new one or not. To me, it makes no sense in sticking 100,000 in that if we're buying a new one. But yet, if it don't work for a year and a half, that don't make sense either.
Correct.
So
I hear what you're saying, and I guess I agree with what you're saying, but my point to that is, if you put $100,000 in something and it's only worth 60, that's bad business. But if you put $100,000 in something that's worth 60 and you can get 5 years out of it and not spend $500,000, that's good business.
Yeah.
And, that's where we're at.
Yeah, we really haven't gotten an answer on what the plan is. And it's to be honest, it's been asked quite a few times.
Correct. The only argument I heard against the new truck, or for the new truck, that made a lot of sense, comparing it to the old truck, is a lot of the tools need that 80 gallons per minute water pressure. They operate on 75 or 70, and our current.
They got about half the pressure they need.
But it sounds like it's worked, but it's
we haven't
been.
had any big problems with sewer backup in the last 21 years that I've heard of.
They use that Vector truck when I asked the question. And this is a question for committee and further discussion. They'll have that truck out once, for sure, every 2 weeks, possibly every week, working on our sewer system. I know we talked about a maintenance program, and I think Troy summarized it real well. We've never got to that because we're always being reactionary right now. Financially, your questions make a lot of sense. Jeremy, your analogy makes a lot of sense. If you're gonna spend 100,000 to lose 40, but get 15 months out of it, and then you get to trade it for 60 off the other price, maybe not a bad deal. Maybe with the parts that they have ordered, he's got 26,000.
worth of stuff.
Does that limp us through and get us to the finish line where you guys can make a decision? The beautiful thing is, the way that thing is, the way the motion in the second went, you have 15 months to make up your mind, and you still, even 15 months from now, don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to fix it or find somebody's equipment to use in the meantime, and I don't think they wanna try using other people's equipment. Every discussion that involved that possible arrangement is like, it will never work, because about the time we need it, they need it.
Most likely.
Most likely.
I would imagine, most likely.
Yeah.
You can't be dependent upon that, but if you get in a bind, I would think that our friends would be like, oh, you need it worse than we do right now. Sure, take it for a day, we can wait, or what, that comes into play.
Yeah.
The other
It's just-
part of the
it's-
discussion in that regard had to do with if there was literally mutual ownership where some other community owned X percent of the vehicle, and one of the points that I heard, whether it's a counterpoint, however you want to characterize it, was that if somebody owns 40% of the truck, whether or not they actually need it, they're probably going to want it sitting in their community doing something with it and using it more than they normally would just because it's their turn to get their 40% time out of it. You may end up getting some wear and tear on that truck that really doesn't need to be there.
I don't like the thought of with taxpayer dollars owning it with another community. And then it generally don't even work out personal to personal.
Yeah,
You know?
There'll be
let
some of
alone
that.
with-
yep.
Yeah,
But I do think we need to know what the plan is with that thing sooner than later on if we're dumping a bunch of money in it or if we're limping it along or, I mean, it really concerns me that we're gonna get anything out of it. I mean, we're being told maybe $60,000 that to me doesn't make a lot of sense when we can't buy parts for it and we're getting told it's obsolete. Why the hell would somebody buy it?
So, I'm not so certain, you know, our responsibility is budgetary. I'm not so certain maybe that they're not looking for direction from us on what are we thinking? Are we thinking yes, we are gonna get this new one? Or, because, yeah, we set the budget and then it's theirs to spend, but is there any repercussions to that because they do the wrong thing, make the decision? I don't know. That's just my take on where we're at on this, because the council split all the way around.
the beauty of this is it is not budgeted, so you guys do
Yeah.
hold the full
Well,
strings
and
on this.
it was through committee, was asked several times while the different quotes were being brought. What's the plan with the old one? What's the plan? That's my only concern is we stick as much as it's worth right now into it for a year, year and a half, and then,
So, we'll use the 100,000 or the 60,000, if those are real numbers, don't matter what the numbers are, but that difference in there, could you rent one for a year and a half for $40,000? Probably not, maybe you could, don't know, but that's what I would look at that as. So I don't have a problem essentially with that gap if it is functional, if you can use it and it's servicing. And my other part of it is if it's functional and usable for 15 months, why not 5 years?
well, I don't think it would cost that much, cause we go to surrounding towns and we sure don't have $40,000 revenue off of that
Oh,
machine going to
no,
other
yeah.
towns.
Yeah. That's if you have one, but if you're getting one, who knows what it is, but you know.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
but I think we do a lot, wasn't it? Used to do Gregory, I think we help with Burke, Bone Steel,
Cologne.
Cologne, and we sure don't see those revenue numbers, so I don't think it would cost a lot if it was down for a little while.
Oh, coming back. Right, I hear you.
Yeah.
But what if we went to XYZ company in Sioux Falls and there was one available to rent for 15 months?
Oh, yeah,
I bet it's gonna be $40,000.
yeah,
Yeah.
to totally tie it up.
Yeah.
And
That's-
I get the newer, it's got more pressure, it's got more, it's gonna be probably more efficient. And you gotta look at, in other departments, we do that. Electrical department wants a new boom truck, we don't bat an eye. It gets done. It's just more efficient, more dependable. And we do big ticket items in other departments that we spent $400,000 in, to make our billing better, more efficient. I mean, you look at other departments and we spend that kind of money to make things more efficient. Seems like all the time.
Yeah.
I recall last week Mark was talking about the latest use of that truck trying to get through a place where they had some tree root ball at a junction there on a sewer line. And he just was describing how it was requiring them to back it up and forward and back and forward and back and forward because it didn't have the power, because of the lower water pressure, didn't have the power to cut through that root ball near as well. He said it took them a long time to get through it. That was the one thing I recall him talking about as far as.
I would hope that a $500,000 piece of equipment would function better than a used one that's been here that's worth 60.
You would
Sure
hope.
though, but.
Yeah.
But our truck works better than Cologne's by far.
The thing that I really get hesitant on is when we want to buy something, we don't have the old one sold, we have nothing committed. You know, not a lot of people go buy a new pickup without knowing what the dealership's gonna give for their trade-in or having a buyer for their vehicle. And, I guess part of the reasoning for needing a new one is it's old, parts are hard to come by, if at all possible. Just doesn't seem like resale is gonna be there. But that's what makes me nervous, is that we have two of them, one we can't sell and one brand new one. Unless we end up giving the darn thing away.
We know the chassis and the engine and everything is low miles. You could strip it down, and I think somebody had a question, can you use it for a dump truck? Put a box on it. There's still value there, just not as a Vector truck. And what is the value of the basic?
What is the truck?
I think it's an international.
I think it is, Austin, that's what I was thinking.
Is it a straight truck? Is it a semi? It's
Yeah,
just a straight truck, farm straight truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can go take a look sometime.
I'm just curious. I don't know if I've ever seen the machine.
Does this company that's quoting new ones, do they not take a trade-in? I haven't heard anything about a trade-in value.
They do, yeah.
Everybody knows if you can sell it outright, you're better off than trading it in, but if there's nobody standing there willing to give you anything,
If
or
you-
whatever.
If you trade it in, and I've got to do a little looking at this, if it's a possibility, if you traded that in, I think that may call into question the validity of not bidding it because it's a source well. I think if you trade that in, you jeopardize that.
I think our Sourcewell discount's only $11,000.
$15,000. I looked at it too. I said
Pretty
Yep.
minimal on a $500,000 purchase.
Yep.
3% is what that one broke down to be.
And I mean, I think.
I'll take
we need
it.
to talk about this with the Public Works Director and the department head too, but I think it's a big issue.
There was one other topic we were talking about. The one thing that we have found, I did a little follow-up after our conversation last night. Our current process of taking online payments still requires the utility clerk to, they're two separate operating systems, and once those payments are received, there is the manual input by the utility clerk to make sure that those accounts are recorded as sufficiently or fully paid in our new Encode system. So there is a transfer of basically knowledge, full payment from this system, marking it in this system. I had a discussion with a resident in the city of Winter where, due to human error, just missing it from the pages, that resident's power was turned off. And that resident called and asked me to refund, after discussion, refund the month. And I advised at that point, that is not in my wheelhouse as the mayor of the community. I said, I don't have that authority. I said, council only has that authority, and there is a process to go through to get that refund if they choose.
The ordinance does specify the process.
What is the process?
Starts out by a request through the finance officer. If the finance officer either won't, can't, whatever, it doesn't feel like the authority that lies there, then it is to be appealed to the committee. And that would be the utility committee that oversees that particular utility that was shut off. And
Then they would have to send it to full council.
and they would have to send it to full council from that committee.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
I hear the process, but
Human error.
can anyone along that line approve it? I kind of took it, you were saying the finance officer.
Finance
could approve.
officer has the authority to.
Does the utility committee have the authority?
Yes, thank you for asking it that way. The utility committee would have the authority to make that
So it's
decision.
an appeal process, basically, then?
It is,
Okay.
Okay.
If you don't get the decision you want from finance officer, you take it to utility. If you don't get that one, then you take it to the council.
council, yes,
You have that option.
correct.
Okay.
And full council, I guess, would have an option when they see the claims,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Would it be through the claims, or would it be an
No.
actionable item?
It's not, it'd be an actionable
Oh, it
item
would be, okay.
Oh, I see your
bring that
question.
up through, yeah.
It wouldn't be on the claims list until somebody along that line
Approved.
approved it.
Correct.
And then still, the council would probably have a decision as it comes through on claims list. If the finance officer approved it, or if the utility committee approved it, the council still has an option on the claims list. Was that your question?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the council.
Because of the
still-
fact you'd have to approve the claim, I would guess that is there. However, looking at the language in the ordinance that describes the process, it really doesn't foresee that.
Yeah.
It foresees that if the finance officer makes the decision and that's not brought further,
It just,
it,
it comes out of that.
it's kind of like that's part of the authority of that office.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting process.
I didn't like step one, where we have two different operating systems.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have human error. I mean, this might have been I don't know, an isolated case. This is one that was brought to my attention, but out of, I don't even know how many online transactions we take in a month, there is always that possibility of a human error.
Is
This-
there any way for the two systems to talk?
There's not.
Can't. Is there any backup to the human error? So, does it come in an email? Does it come in a system where they have to log in and look at it every day, every minute of the day to
No.
see if anything, a new payment came through?
No, the process, as I understand it, and I may be wrong when I say this, but my understanding is on shut-off day in the city of Winter for delinquency of payment, that list is pulled up before anything is shut off. The online payments are verified
Okay.
and then checked in this system to make sure that they're paid.
They
One
check
was-
once a day. On shut
One
off
time
day,
a month,
Just
I think.
one, yeah.
And that's a lot. There is now two things.
So what if someone made an online payment 10 days before?
Still,
They,
I don't think so.
they don't
Chairman.
talk. The online payment doesn't remove it from this list over here. So somebody could make a payment 10 days before.
Yes.
Yeah, are they not gonna be on this list then? Or will they be on this list?
I don't know. It's my understanding that they are, until that human comes across and hits a
Online
check as
payment.
paid.
Yeah.
Now, the new Encode system, talking with the finance officer, has a system that processes online payments and talks to this system. But we are not a good candidate for this new system until all of our meters and radios are in. And then there's a cost, and I think it's like $6,000 with $500 a year renewal on the license. But to me, I'd like to eliminate human error.
I understand what it's doing. I didn't understand the shut-off day process. I thought, okay, what if the utility clerk isn't there that day and doesn't check that list? It doesn't go to somebody, does it go to the finance officer for them to double check it? No. Because somebody will be sitting at the utility clerk desk on shut-off day.
It would go to the deputy finance officer.
Yeah.
There, no, I'm kidding.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
There
you-
will be someone at that desk checking that list. It just got missed then. Or the payment got made after they checked the list before the actual shut-off time or something. Don't know the process. What happened? Okay.
This particular instance, I believe, was a Monday morning shut-off. Payments coming in over the weekend have to be allowed to come through. And then that clerk's got all those payments from the weekend and prior to go through to get over here. And if there's 50 of them and one falls through the crack, you're 98% perfect, but
Yeah.
there's still human error. Future software that I believe the finance officer will look for in appropriations to eliminate that. But
Okay.
anyhow, Mr. Jensen, do you have anything that,
I don't.
Councilman Clunt, any other questions?
I don't think so.
Yours were answered before. I loved them.
Coffee with the mayor tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
7 o'clock at Shirley's, I heard.
I heard you're gonna be there.
I didn't commit. I said, we'll see.
We'll see.
Could be exciting.
Okay. Maybe I won't be there.
I'm talking about the questions fielded. It gets better every week, the questions that have come through in the discussion.
The following week, there will not be coffee with the mayor, so this is your opportunity this week.
I do like my coffee.
Me too.
Lately.